Hi everyone, and welcome to Gwyn Collects. I just want to start off this video with a huge thank you to everyone. My collection video has been doing super well since I put it up last week, so thank you so much to everyone's support. I was so excited to publish it, so I'm so glad that everyone's been enjoying it and enjoying seeing my collection. I know it was long overdue. But yeah, thank you so much for all of the amazing comments and support on the collection video. It means a ton to me. One thing I noticed with this collection video though is I got so many questions in the comments. So many questions in the comments. So I thought, since this week's video that was supposed to go up is taking me longer to edit than I expected, I thought I would film a quick Q&A and post it where I answer just a bunch of all of your questions. Both that I saw kind of common trends on the collection video, and then also I asked on my community tab here on YouTube and also in the Broken Figures Discord to see if you guys had any questions for me. So I'll be answering a bunch of your questions in today's video. These questions are going to range from figure questions, collection questions, to life questions. So yeah, I'm very excited. It's probably going to be more of like a stream of consciousness kind of answering, minimal editing, just a nice chill video today. So I'm really excited for that. So yeah, let's get into these questions. Alright, so the first question I'm going to answer was asked by many people on my collection video and also on my community post that I made, and that is, how do you afford your collection? And a lot of people wanted like a justification for like how much I put in the thumbnail of my collection video, so I thought I would go through that a little bit because it is a lot of money to spend in about 2.5 years, so I thought I would go into that a little bit as the first question in this Q&A, because that was definitely the most asked question. Okay, first of all, disclaimer, I don't love to tout the value of my collection. I didn't do it as like a brag in that video, but consumerism is king. YouTube loves clickbaity thumbnails, and putting the price of a collection in the thumbnail is a surefire way to help your video in the algorithm. So while I didn't really want to put the price of my collection in my thumbnail, it does really help with reach on YouTube. I guess people are just curious, they like to click, you know, I mean I get curious too when people are like, oh my god, massive haul, so expensive, right? So yeah, the main reason I put the amount that my collection is worth in the thumbnail is literally for clicks. Like, sorry, I mean, it's not clickbait, my collection is worth about that, but it's mostly for clicks. Second of all, that price is in Canadian dollars, so if you were to convert that to US dollars for all my Americans watching, that's about 36,000-ish US dollars, so less than you would think if you were an American. Now, I always take issue though with people being like, oh well, it's worth $36,000 then, because I did spend like about $40,000-ish on my collection, and it's appreciated since I bought many of my figures and I got good deals on a lot of them. So I think $50,000 is a good price point. But you know, like, I still spent that, and in Canada we don't have like higher wages to correspond with the conversion rate. Like $40,000 in Canada is, to us, what $40,000 would be to an American. Like, it, even though the conversion is different, it's not any more or less money, like, realistically, if that makes sense. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but I often find, like, on TikTok too, Americans will be like, oh, well, your dollar's just worth less, but it costs the same. But in reality, it doesn't. So anyway, I put $50,000 because I estimate that as about the worth of my collection. A lot of my really expensive figures, like Bastet and a few of my other binding figures, as well as some of my more rare figures like Maka, I actually got for very good deals on Omi pre-owned, or they were given to me as gifts. So I would say a few $1,000s worth of my collection cost me nothing. So that's where the $50,000 kind of estimate came from. That's the estimate I use for insurance, and I did get a lot of questions about that. Yes, I do have insurance on my collection, because yeah, it is covered under my parents' insurance though, because I live at home with them. So I am not looking forward to moving out and having to figure out insurance for myself when I move out. That is not going to be fun. But yeah, I do have insurance on my collection, and the worth is about 50,000 CAD. Now, how do I afford this? A lot of people thought it was very far-fetched. So some people felt that that was like a ridiculous amount of money and I would have had to spend my entire wage. I did say I'm a grad student, And grad student salaries are notoriously low. And I'm not denying that. I'm kind of in a privileged position. I've gotten quite a few scholarships. One of the few times being a woman in STEM pays off. I'm able to use a lot of my experience as a woman in STEM, I think, to apply for scholarships. And there are a lot of scholarships that are focused on female engineers in grad school because there are so few of us. So I have been able to get quite a few scholarships to help increase kind of my pay and also pay my tuition. So I do pay my own tuition for my grad studies. My parents did pay my undergrad tuition. Again, I'm very lucky. So anyway, essentially I have a decent wage as a grad student. But the majority of the money that I spend on my collection actually does come from YouTube. So if you combine YouTube ad revenue, sponsorships, and then my now Patreon, I actually bring in a fairly decent amount of money from just YouTube in general at this point. I would say my collection is pretty self-sustaining now, so I definitely invested a lot at first, but now with my channel and everything, it pays for itself pretty much every month. I would say I spend about $1,000 to $2,000 a month on figures, and I make quite a bit more than that, so I would say I probably save a fair amount more. But yeah, some months are worse than others. If I'm having a really stressful month, I tend to stress shop, so those months will go worse. Or if I have a big like accomplishment in my life and I want to treat myself, for example, my Prime 1 Joker cost me about $1,100 Canadian, so that was like a big spend for the month. So yeah, I'm also very fortunate. I do live with my parents and they don't make me pay rent to them or anything, so I live here for free. And I didn't have a car for a really long time, so I didn't have a lot of like extraneous expenses. You know, if I was living on my own, I would not be spending like I am. And I think that's something I want to emphasize. Like, figure collecting is fun, but it should never be stressful, a strain on your finances, you know. It should just be something you enjoy and you buy within your means. I know I didn't show a lot, but I actually own quite a few prize figures. I mean, the proportion of prize figures to scales in my collection is obviously skewed, but I own a lot of prize figures that I love so much. I actually recently got the Miku, the Pop-Up Parade large Miku, and I am obsessed with her. She looks fantastic. So I really think that you can enjoy being in this hobby without spending a ton of money. Like, you definitely don't have to spend a lot of money to enjoy figure collecting. And I do spend quite a bit of money on figure collecting, but yeah. Additionally, I don't buy much else. I used to be a real big clothing shopper. I still love clothes, I love fashion, but I really don't buy as much now. I'll buy like 1 to 2 pieces every so often of like really high quality things that I love. But I don't really shop for clothes anymore. Especially during COVID too, when I first started collecting, like back in 2020, 2021, I had nothing to do. I had nowhere to go. We couldn't go out to eat. So I was getting paid, I was working, but my money was going nowhere. I wasn't paying rent. It was just sitting in my bank account. So I really started to collect heavily in that time because there was nothing else to spend money on and I was bored. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I think with the cost of figures rising and just a lot of things, it's becoming a lot more unsustainable than when I first started collecting. But yeah, as for how I amassed a collection in this amount of time, the SparkNotes is not the most responsible spending. Let's be real. Spending $40,000-ish in 2.5 years is... I could have bought a car. Or put a down payment on a house, but we're not going to talk about that. Yeah, SparkNotes... not the most responsible spending, but not like horrendous. I'm not in debt. I have savings. The second one is I started collecting during COVID and there was absolutely nothing to do except sit at home and be sad. So figure collecting became a real outlet for me and starting this channel became a real outlet for me. So that's how I justified a ton of my purchases and I don't regret them now. And finally, I live for free. I'm very, very fortunate. I am not delusional at my situation. I love my parents. They love having me around. I have a really, really great relationship with my parents. And I enjoy living at home. I am looking to move out probably end of this year, beginning of next year with my boyfriend. So the figures, I'm cutting down on orders a lot. If you check my figure collection, you can see the front half of my year is overloaded. But then the end of this year and into 2024, I have way less pre-orders because I'm planning on moving out. But yeah, it's definitely, if if I didn't live at home, I wouldn't buy as much, and I'm very, very fortunate to be in the position that I am, and with my parents having paid a lot of my tuition for my undergrad, which is a lot less expensive here in Canada than the US. I think my undergrad was about 10,000 Canadian dollars a year, and I got a lot of scholarships in my undergrad as well. So anyway, I'm not trying to flex or anything with the cost of my collection, but a lot of people are curious. So yeah, essentially just, I'm very fortunate to have the situation that I'm in, and I think that everyone can collect differently and enjoy collecting differently, and it doesn't make you more or less of a collector to own more figures. I'm actually quite overwhelmed with the amount of figures that I own, and I do wish I owned less, and I have been thinking about selling some. So yeah, I don't want anyone to think that they need to own over 200 figures to be a good collector. I've seen amazing collections that are like a curated like 10 figures and half of them are prized. Like, that's one thing I love about this community, is I feel like everyone is so welcoming, and there's people from so many different parts of the world, so many different tax brackets, I don't know how to word it, so many different like economic situations, and I think it's really important that we just all are inclusive in this community and enjoy figure collecting however we can. So yeah, that's my spiel. Nobody needs this many figures. I don't need this many figures, but you know what? We live on a rock in space, and we're only here for a while, so I'm here for a good time, you know? So hopefully that covers the basis of the finances. Let's move on to some other questions, some more fun questions. I'll do a couple from the Discord, because I'd love for you guys to join the Broken Figures Discord. You can join it in the description below. I did ask this there, so I have a couple questions from my friends over there. So the first question is from Cookie Fate Clown, and they asked, how do you feel about being an influencer in a community, like within the niche of figure collecting in the West? And I think it's so weird. I think it is so strange that people actually like care about my opinions and watch my videos. Like, I enjoy making these. I love connecting with you guys. I've had so much fun making this YouTube channel, but I still think it's so weird that people like know who I am and like care about my opinions on figures and stuff. It's crazy to me. I've been recognized in real life a few times, and it's always so wild to like think that there are people like you guys watch me on YouTube. I don't know. It is crazy. I absolutely love the figure community. There is no other community I'd want to be a part of more than this community on YouTube. I love you guys so much, and it's just like so much fun. If you can't tell, I have a huge passion for figure collecting. I absolutely love it. I feel like I like go on my figure collection like so often. I know so much about figures, and just like meeting other people through YouTube and Discord and Reddit and all of these places and Twitter. It's just so much fun to actually connect with you guys and talk about these things that we're all passionate about. So I absolutely love being an influencer in the community. I think it's weird that I have any kind of influence. There have been a few times where figures I've talked about have gone like up in the aftermarket, and I think it's so weird that like I have potentially influenced the cost of figures by like hyping it up. Crazy. It's crazy to me. So I really, really enjoy being an influencer. I still think it's weird that like there are over 30,000 people subscribed and you guys like watch and listen to my opinions, but thank you. But yeah, it's definitely weird, but I love this community so much. I love all the people I've met in it so much, and I've made like real life friends through this community, which I think is just, it's very cool. Newts asked, you might have already spoken about it, but my memory's horrible, so sorry if you have. I have a terrible memory too, and I wouldn't remember if I've already spoken about this. But what's your overall thoughts on Chinese companies like MyEthos and Apex, as well as all the new ones popping up in comparison to Japanese ones? So I love Chinese figure companies. I am one of the many people cheering that my figure collection is finally allowing some Chinese figure entries on the site, because why weren't these on the site earlier? I don't know. But I love Chinese figure companies. I think their prices are better, and I have gotten so many amazing figures from these companies, especially MyEthos. MyEthos is just one of the best figure companies out there right now. I think for their price, and their designs are just so fantastic. Like, did y'all see the Asuka and Rei set? Amazing. They're amazing. They're beautiful, beautiful figures. I don't think I'll be picking them up though. Maybe at release. they're expensive. And I may or may not have bought the Power and Makima figure yesterday, so don't kill me, guys. I can only buy one expensive set at a time, okay? But yeah, I do really, really love the My Ethos set of Rei and Asuka. But yeah, I love My Ethos. I love, love, love so many of my Ethos figures that I own. Just such a fantastic company. Apex is putting out quality all the time. I'm obsessed with so many of Apex's figures. I don't own any yet, but I'm sure I will one day. I think I have an Apex figure ordered. It's like a girl in a black like dress. Is she from Girls Frontline? I think she is, maybe? She's definitely like a gun girl. I'll put her on the screen. Hopefully it's actually Apex. But it's not on my figure collection, so it is some kind of Chinese company. But yeah, I absolutely love Chinese figure companies. I am afraid of some of the newer ones popping up, especially when they only put renders up of their pre-orders. So those make me a little iffy, and I typically wait until release to order their figures, but I've been very, very impressed with every figure I've gotten from Chinese companies, and I hope they continue to make bangers, because some of these Japanese companies are charging absurd prices, cough cough, furyu, for their figures. So I am super, super happy with what these Chinese companies are offering us, and they're often offering us really, really cute OCs, and I love original characters, so I've been loving all of the Chinese companies that have been coming up. Killer Kurbis. Why have I... Okay, I've talked to Killer so many times on the Discord, and I've always read their name as Killer Kuberis, but I'm reading it now and it's Killer Kurbis. It does not compute in my mind. I've been reading their name wrong this whole time. Anyway, where are you going to put new figures? And a few people did ask me this, and I don't know. I have room above my bunnies, so you know, if you watched my collection video, that was the last video I put up, I have a really high shelf that goes like above my TV area. I made it go all the way across the room so that I can extend the shelf over the windows on the right side and over my bunnies on the left. So that's probably what I'll do, and then I'll just have like a whole kind of like row of figures just on these like super high shelves, because that is literally the last place I have to put them. I have nowhere to put figures, and I display every single figure I own, but I think I'm gonna have to start like rotating my displays at a certain point, or cutting down the amount of figures I have. That's also an option. I have been thinking of selling a couple, so I'll probably get on that this summer, but yeah, I don't know where I'm gonna put them because I have too many figures, but I seem to always find room. So yeah, I'm struggling with where to put more. Remy Wild asks, how do you feel about prices trending upwards more and more over time, and do you feel it's sustainable? Does it hurt your interest in collecting? So just like you guys, I don't have unlimited money. And if any of you viewers of this channel have unlimited money, I'm very jealous. But yeah, figures are getting so expensive. With the falling yen and also just like rising prices around the world. I mean, these are a luxury good, and so they go up in price and we kind of have to deal with it, I guess. Additionally, not only are figure prices increasing, shipping prices are increasing. Like, shipping has just gotten ridiculous at this point, honestly. Like, I see my shipping invoices and I'm like, are you joking? Like, are you joking right now? I see them and I'm like, I recently got Le Triomphant, pardon my French, from Omi the light version. I got her for 9,000 yen in BB condition, and her shipping was 7,200 yen. Like, almost the cost of the figure. So I ended up using Surface, and I like never use Surface, but I'm not paying $70 to ship a $90 figure. Like, that is ridiculous. And it was $72 for EMS. Like, geez. Like, these prices have just gotten out of hand. So yeah, it definitely does dissuade me from pre-ordering a lot, which is honestly good because I have too many figures to begin with. But yeah, it's really hurt, I think, a lot of people's interest in collecting, and I do not blame them at all. You know, you see a figure, it's like a simple girl doing this, and then companies want $250 for it. Like, it's ridiculous. If I can give you guys any advice for people who are feeling discouraged by these high prices, up until about this year and like end of last year, when figures would come out, they would be hard to get. And they would either stay the same in the aftermarket or go up. Nearly every single figure that has released in the past, I want to say like 5-6 months, has gone down in the aftermarket. I have nearly stopped pre-ordering figures. I only pre-order like native figures and figures that are hard to get, that notoriously go up in the aftermarket. Or if I can get like a good deal and pay up front. So if I'm looking for something on Tom, like I had a bunch of Tom points and that's why I bought that horrendously overpriced. Speaking of overpriced figures, that horrendously overpriced Makima and Power that just went up, I had points and like a 10% off coupon for Tom. So I ended up pre-ordering them. But I have pretty much stopped pre-ordering figures and I just wait till release for them to come out because everything has dropped. I think nobody wants to pay these aftermarket prices. So the aftermarket on like everything that's coming out has gone down. Recently, the Belfine Holo came out, and I didn't pre-order her back when she went up for pre-order because I didn't like her face very much. But seeing the released photos of her, I'm like, okay, she actually looks pretty decent. But I didn't want to pay the 23 to 27,000 yen that she costs on different sites, and I actually managed to pick her up in a Yahoo Japan auction recently for 17,500 yen, and I have a feeling she's going to go even lower than that. So if you're feeling discouraged by the current figure prices, I think just stop pre-ordering and just kind of see how the market goes. Unless you absolutely need these figures in your collection and you know that they are like holy grails for you, I would recommend just not pre-ordering figures and just seeing how they go down at release. Like I had the Frederica figure ordered from Alter. I'm just gonna wait till she tanks because I know she's gonna tank, and why would I spend 18,000 yen when I could spend 10,000 yen on her? So yeah, I think while these high prices are discouraging, I felt a lot more encouraged by shopping the aftermarket on a lot of things recently. So definitely the prices hurt, but if you know how to find a good deal on Omiyami Pre-Owned, Mandarake, and Yahoo Japan auctions, you can get a lot of these figures that are absurdly overpriced for much cheaper at release. And then if you buy them at release, you get to actually see how they turned out, which I really, really like. So it's very discouraging though. These prices are crazy. Curves Hobby asks, is there a time that you feel burnt out from figure collecting? If yes, what do you do? And what are your other hobbies? So I actually have never felt burnt out from collecting. I love figure collecting so much, and I'm the type where I don't like, I don't want to say like I'm not ADHD. How do I word this? Like, I'm not the type to jump from thing to thing. I find things that I like and I stick with them. I really like them. Like the things I liked years ago, I still love, you know, and you know, like feelings fade and you get interested in new things, but like it's been 2.5 years of figure collecting and I am still just as into it now as I was when I first started collecting. I absolutely love figure collecting. It is like a huge part of my life, and like so many of the friends I've made have been through figure collecting and just like watching anime and everything. So I haven't really felt burnt out from figure collecting. I have, on the other hand, felt a bit burnt out on YouTube. When I first started my channel, again, it was COVID. I was at home all the time and I was able to kind of flexibly work. That word sounds wrong. I had a lot of flexibility in my work schedule, so I was doing a lot of simulation work, and so it was all programming, so I could do it at like 2 a.m. if I wanted to. So while the sun was up and the light was coming through my window, I could film videos and then I could work at night, and it worked. But now, since I've transferred into my PhD and I've been like writing papers and prepping for my candidacy exam, I've been super, super, super busy with university. And it's been really hard to balance. Actually, I had a lot of questions asking about work-life balance too, so I'll tie that into this question. So it has been really hard to balance recently, and I've moved into a lot more lab work to go with my simulation work. So it's been tough recently, I think, to make videos that I'm really proud of and really excited to put out. And there's just little projects I want to do. Like, I really want to finish my Doki Doki Literature Club Let's Play, and it's just those little things that fall on the back burner. And it's really tough, and I love this channel so much, and I love my work, and it's really hard to keep things balanced. I do a lot of volunteer work as well. with some feminist organizations at my university and like women in STEM organizations. And so I have that volunteer work as well. And it's a lot, and I have a very busy life. So I've been kind of burnt out recently, especially on YouTube, just trying to make content that I'm enjoying. And I feel like I want to connect with all of you more. I think that's why I felt the need to like make this Q&A. I really wanted to connect with you all more and just, I don't know, just talk. And I'll just be like, look at this thing I bought. Look at this other thing I bought. Look at this. So I have felt burnout with YouTube, but never with figure collecting. I love it so much, and I love making YouTube videos, and I love this community. I'm not planning on stopping anytime soon, but yeah. So this question also asked, what are my other hobbies? I don't have time for a lot of other hobbies because of just volunteer work, YouTube, university, but I do really, really enjoy listening to music. I don't know if that's really a hobby, but I love listening to music, collecting vinyl, going shopping for vinyl, all that stuff. I love that. And, yeah, I enjoy coffee as well. I want to get into like brewing coffee more. Maybe it's the persona playing, but like I have a coffee siphon, and it's fun to brew coffee, and I'd love to get into like actually learning how to brew it well. So that's something I'm interested in. And then, yeah, I am quite interested in my work. I do research on carbon capture, so I do like reading in my spare time and kind of reading articles and looking into that. That's such a nerdy hobby, oh my god. But yeah, my main hobby is figure collecting though, so that's where I spend a lot of my time. And obviously like spending time with friends, talking to you guys, that kind of stuff. Those are my other hobbies. I had quite a few people ask for advice on how I balance like work and school and everything, and any tips that I had, and honestly, I'm not the best because I feel like I just like work myself a little too hard sometimes. But one tip I have for staying on top of things is to get enough sleep. I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep minimum every night, and I think it's so important. If you cut into your sleep, you can't mentally do everything you want to do. At least me personally, like I need my sleep. So I always make sure like I get enough sleep every night. And I also get up. Like when my alarm goes off in the morning, I get up and I go, and it's hard some mornings, like don't get me wrong, but I really get up and go and just get out of bed. And it can be so hard some days, but it's really important to get your sleep and then get out of bed and get productive. I think that's my biggest tip. My next biggest tip is don't strive for perfection. I know I probably seem maybe more type A. A lot of people have told me I seem quite type A. I am very much not a type A person. I'm disorganized, I'm messy, I'm not great at that kind of stuff. But I'm also not a perfectionist. And I think you'll see that with my YouTube channel. I love making videos and I work really hard on them, but if everything's not quite perfect, it's okay. I don't stress over it, I just let it go. And I think engineering really taught me this, doing engineering for my undergrad. Doing engineering from my undergrad really, really taught me that like you do not have time to make everything perfect. And handing in something that is good enough, I think perfect is the enemy of good. I love that quote. I think that's the quote. If you always strive for perfection, you're going to burn yourself out and you're never going to actually like reach what you want, and you're never going to be pleased with your performance. But if you set realistic expectations for yourself and you say, you know what, I did my best, let's move on, I think that's huge. And I think that's a great way to just live your life. And I think it makes me a lot more okay with making mistakes and just being like, you know what, I put my best foot forward, I did my best, this is what I have to show for it. And people aren't gonna notice. I think that's the biggest thing. My YouTube videos aren't perfect. But if I improved them, like a bunch, improved the quality, improved everything, in my opinion, I don't think I would get that much more engagement or that much more community than I currently do. I think people are here for my videos, to see me talk and show my figures and just like communicate. And I don't think people are here for perfect, beautiful, cinematic shots of the figures, you know what I mean? So I think being able to say, you know what, I did it, it's good enough, I'm putting this out there in the world, I'm taking a step forward, is a really good way to not burn yourself out and still accomplish a bunch. And when you look back, you'll realize that all those little nitpicky things that you thought were so important in school, in work, just in your life, they weren't important. And what was important was just like that you got out there and you did what you wanted to do. So yeah, that's my biggest tip for balancing many different things in your life. Fubadas, who has been a long time subscriber and commenter, Fubadas has like commented like these like long threads. Fubadas has commented on so many of my videos and would leave these long threads, and it always makes me happy to see, so thank you. Long time viewer. So they have 2 questions. Is Chika still my favorite character? If not, then who is it? And what other hobbies do I have? Oh, besides, well, I already answered their one question just 1 question ago. But yeah, so thank you, Fubodas, and thank you for all of your support on my videos from like literally the beginning. You're an OG. But yes, so Chika is still one of my favorite characters. I still love Kaguya-sama so much. I just recently saw the movie for Valentine's Day with my boyfriend, and it was so much fun. But yeah, I love Chika still. She's still my girl. But I have been kind of finding some other characters. Holo has really moved up there. I just love Holo so much. I feel like she's such a classic character. She's so beautiful and sweet, and I'm really excited for whatever remake they're planning to do that they announced. But yeah, I think they're my main like best girls that I like to collect. And now with Persona, obviously I love Makoto, and I love in the new game I love Rize, or I'm playing Persona 4 Golden right now, and Rize and Chie are just my loves. Oh my god, I love them so much. So yeah, I've definitely moved some of my obsession over to Persona just as a whole as well. But yeah, Chika is still best girl. I love her so much. And then I guess I've been super into Miku recently. I've been listening to so much Vocaloid music, just a ton of Vocaloid music. Actually, speaking of, a lot of people asked about my taste in music, and they wanted some music recommendations. So I thought I would make a playlist, which will be linked, I'll like link it above as well, on my channel, of all of my favorite songs that I'm jamming to right now. It's gonna be like so random. I'm just gonna like put everything I've been enjoying recently on that playlist. So there's gonna be lots of Vocaloid, some Japanese music, maybe I'll put some English music as well on there. Yeah, so check that out if you're interested in some of my music recommendations, because I know some people are. But yeah, I've been listening to so much Vocaloid. I love Miku so much. I also love Gumi, but Gumi never gets any merch or figures. I think there's like licensing issues or whatever. But I do love Miku so much, so I've been collecting a ton of Miku recently, and I just love it. I'm obsessed with Vocaloid, like actually obsessed. So Ivy has a double question as well. The first is, did I pre-order the Aoba and Kojaku figure by Native? Hell yes, I did, of course. I love them so much. Wow, most anticipated figure of 2024 for sure for me. And 2, what are you wanting to do with a PhD in engineering? So I don't talk a ton about my personal life on here, mostly just figures. So yeah, I am a PhD student. I am a chemical engineer. I've got my engineering ring. For any of you Canadian engineers out there, can you see? Yep, there's my engineering ring. So I'm in EIT though. I'm an engineer in training here in Alberta. I'm not a PEng, obviously. I just graduated in 2021 from my undergrad, but I didn't plan on doing my PhD. I was doing my master's, but a lot of opportunities came up. I'm working in carbon capture, and there's so much opportunity in that field right now, so I decided to transfer to my PhD. And I mostly work with modeling and simulation of carbon capture processes, and I have moved into a bit more experimental work with these processes and process design. So yeah, as for what I want to do with my PhD, I'm not 100% certain yet. I'm not opposed to moving to industry. There's a lot of opportunity there. My project is industry funded that I do for my PhD, so there's a lot of, I talk to a lot of people in the industry now, and they have PhDs, so there is opportunity there. And then I would actually really enjoy being a prof. I'm a TA, so I'm a teaching assistant, and I love it so much, so I wouldn't be opposed to doing my postdoc somewhere outside of Edmonton and potentially being a professor. Could you imagine little Professor Gwyn Collects walking into your lecture hall? Oh my god. But yeah, I'm really passionate about women in engineering and minorities in engineering, so I think it would be really great to try to increase the female representation in faculty in engineering as well. So yeah, I'm not sure what I want to do, but I have like 3 more years to decide. So yeah, we're just taking it one step at a time here. Marissa asks, when you first began collecting figures, what did you envision your collection would look like? Certain series, characters, etc. And what route do you see your collection taking now? So when I first started collecting back in 2020, I was like super into anime. Like I was watching so much anime, like an absurd amount. There was literally nothing to do during COVID, so I would just do my schoolwork and then watch anime. So I was super into collecting figures from the anime I was watching, and I thought my collection would be like no OCs, like only figures from anime that I'm watching, and just like that was how it would play out. But I actually found that as my collection has evolved and I've gotten interested in more and more things, that I still have certain series and certain characters that I love, and I want to collect a lot of figures from those series, but I've really moved into collecting a lot of original characters and also collecting a lot of like R18 figures. I really enjoy collecting lewd figures. So yeah. So as for how I see my collection moving from here on out, I buy a lot of original character figures, and a lot of I have specific artists that I really like Pachi and Raita and Kekematsu, 40 Hara I love. I'm trying to think of some other ones that I love to collect. Those are the main ones. So yeah, I have Bon. I have a lot of artists that I really enjoy collecting their figures, so I think as my collection grows, I have a really solid sense of what I like now. And so I'll continue to pick up those figures. I love, obviously, my quarter scale bunny girls. I really love, playful figures, and I think I have since the very beginning. I love having a very colorful collection. I'm not super into, the pastels or the muted characters. I'm into really fun, energetic, just cool figures that just, make me smile and I just enjoy looking at. So I think those are probably the main ones that I'm, super, super into. But yeah, that's kind of where I see my collection going, is just more fun, cool figures, more lewd figures, of course, but also a lot of just ones from series that I enjoy. A lot more Persona. I'm so obsessed with Persona and so obsessed with the figures from that series, so I'll definitely be picking up more from that. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. When I buy figures, I typically buy them. I want them to both fit into my collection, but also be just characters and figures that I really like. So I think I have good ideas of what I like now, if that makes sense. Whereas when I first started collecting, I just kind of bought what I liked, randomly. Now I have a more refined sense of what I'm looking for. So, yeah. And obviously, anything Asuka, there's, characters that, I'll just buy if they have a nice figure that comes out. So, I don't know. I'm not too picky. Price plays into it. I actually made a video where I talked about my main criteria for picking up figures. I'll link it above. Because that video, I talk a lot about what my criteria is. Okay, Stronini has a really good question. I love questions like this. Controversial questions like this. What's a figure that a lot of people like that I dislike, and vice versa? So a figure a lot of people like that I don't like, and I've talked about this on my channel before, is the Crystal Dress Rem figure by Eastream. I think it's just a blob of blue. I do not like this figure. I know it's some people's absolute holy grails, their number one figure they need. I'm not a fan. Another figure that people love, and I don't understand, I do not get it. I do not like this figure. I'm so sorry to people that own it, and if you own it and love it, good for you. I own plenty of figures people don't like. Don't be offended by this. Figures are completely subjective. I bought the Makima and Power figure, and I've seen what people are saying about it. But I don't like Mimiya, the native figure where she has the outfit on. I think her pose is really awkward. I hate the bra that's underneath. I'm not a fan. I don't like the pose. I think the fabric clothes look weird. Really not a fan of that figure at all. And a figure I like that everyone doesn't like, this is topical, is the Power and Makima nurse figure. Obsessed. I love it. I think it looks just like the illustration. I think it looks fantastic. I'm so excited to get it. it's completely overpriced. Like, don't even get me wrong, like that price is actually disgusting. But I think the figure looks nice. Like, people are saying it looks like a prize figure. I don't think so. I think it looks really, really nice. I think the price is hideous and it should be like $300 max. But I think the figure looks good. The price is just too high, but the figure itself is actually really, really nice. So yeah. Okay. So my camera died, so it's probably time for me to wrap up this Q&A a little bit. I feel like I wanted to answer more questions. Okay, let's pick another one. Oh, there's so many good questions. Maybe I'll do a part 2 coming in a few weeks. I'll definitely do a part 2 actually, because there's way more questions I want to learn, or I want to answer. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I will cut it here and I'll make a part 2 because there's so many more questions I want to answer. So I will make a part 2 that'll go up in the next few weeks. But yeah, this has been super, super fun. I hope you guys all enjoyed this Q&A. Hopefully I answered some of your burning questions from my collection video, and I'll be back to answer even more in a few weeks. So thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you to all of my patrons over on Patreon. Your support means so much to me. And an even bigger thank you to all of my Chika tier patrons over on Patreon. CJ, JP, Leon Blade, Luca, Retro Richie, Gregory, Styrak, Melinda, Zen Nezu, and Remember June. Your support means so much to me. Thank you. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A, and I'll see you next time. Bye!